My father's brother, my uncle, was during the war from Iceland. He actually went and joined the English army and became a commando soldier and did some great feats at Dunkirk, etc. And so my father would always tell me stories about military and fighting, and I got these little military. We had these cartoons in those days, which like comic drawers about war, and I would read them all the time. I got my first gun at my, I think, 10th year birthday. My father gave me a rifle. I got my first knife when I was 6. And so I always grew up with weapons, and I played David Crockett all my life. So it was a natural thing to become military, and I couldn't wait for the challenge because I found it very challenging and interesting, and also to serve and protect, to help people. Actually, at 17, I went to Copenhagen to the French embassy, and I wanted to join the French Foreign Legion. But I was told I was too young. so I had to be 18, or I had to have the signature of my parent to be allowed to join. So I got this form to file out, and I went back home and I presented to my mother at dinner and said, hey, would you please sign here so I could go to France, to Marseille, and join the French Foreign Legion. And that was not her idea of the ideal future. Dad spoke to him, and I was shipped to Iceland for a while, and I went there for 6 months, spent some time in Iceland. And with my father, and then I came back, and as soon as I came back, that was November when I was still 17, I went and for joining me with National Guard, and applied for them, and basically at 18, the day I turned 18, 2 days after, I had my first National Guard meeting. I got my uniform, and I started in a patrol unit that also have explosive ordnance disposal. We were supposed to blow up a bridge and all. We learned patrol, long range patrol behind enemy's lines. Later on, I spent so much time doing this. It was a weekend thing, part-time thing, that I joined the military as a professional soldier, and then served duty as professional soldier, which was problematic for me because I have a problem with, I don't have an authority problem, but I have a problem with authority that are stupid. and I must say, in those days, the military didn't always attract the best leaders. So I had a lot of debates, I would say, with my sergeants and officers and about things. And of course, I had experience from National Guard, which is much more free and more liberty. So I had things, but I could do everything there anyway, so I had no problems with being a soldier. But I decided to, I was supposed to go to sergeant school, but I decided at that time that maybe military was not really where I wanted to be. That's what the army is good at, and also achieving things, because generally speaking, in the military, when you want to give up, when you feel your post and now you need a break, you can't do more, you are usually at somewhere between 40 and 60% of your capacity, right? But then you have a sergeant who says, shut up, Private Sommer, and move on, keep going, you can't stop, right? And so when you want to stop here, and later on you are here and you're looking back, you think, wow, why did I want to stop there if I could go here, right? And so you get this confidence actually that you can do more and do more and do more. And then there's discipline, how to fold your clothes and put it in the cabinet, how to shave every day and polish your boots and all those kind of ththings, which is really good for a young man to learn, ironing your clothes and washing it yourself and taking care of your things, So yes, there are, I mean, they're very good things that you learn in the military from that perspective. And also the hardship of living out in the trench, you duck yourself, and it's raining, it's cold, you eat crappy food, and you never have enough water. And when you come home from an exercise and you can turn on the tap and you can drink all the water you want, you find that's a luxury. You rediscover that luxury every time you come in and open the fridge and you look at all the food. And you're like, whoa, and there's so much food and it's so great. And you're so happy for a couple of days. And the week after, you open your fridge and say, there's no food. And what can this is the way we do in life, So yeah, I think everybody should go through it. And it also trained you for conflict and stress. And I think that's a problem today. People do not have that experience with stress and danger, so they don't know how to overcome obstacles in their life because they've been overprotected. My father was born in Iceland, is Icelandic, but he lived 22 years in Denmark and actually considered himself Danish by that, and was very Danish in his behavior. So which is why I had to marry Spise in Denmark, because when I was with him in the weekends, we had daddy weekends, which was rare, but we would always go and see something, a museum or a castle or a historic point or something. So I discovered a lot intellectually with my father in those weekends. But he moved to Iceland when I was about 12. And so that was why I was sent when I was 17. And then after army, I went back there to Iceland, where I went up, joined Securitas, became a security guard a few years, and then guard supervisor, shift supervisor, and then training manager, and from training manager to operations manager and consultant. So I had a 10-year career with Securitas in Iceland. Because we had bad equipment, in Securitas, and I was upset with the flashlights and the belts and the radios and how they were. So I wanted more tactical gear, and that wasn't really available in Iceland at the time, or very expensive. So I just one day got up the idea. I bought webbing meant for climbing, very webbing tape. I bought that in black, and I bought plastic, the one you put around cables in the ground, which is very strong and flexible. And I made my first, my own belt, right? My own gear belt. And then I started stitching and designing the part for my radio and for my flashlight and for my latex gloves and for my first aid kit and whatever. And very soon, the rest of the guys were like, "Hey, we want one of those too." And the company started asking. And so I had this little side hustle in my week off, where I was making gear belts for Securitas and also the pouches, and that was my first entrepreneurial business. I would love to expand myself all the time. So when security, I started learning more and more, and I kept seeking new challenges, right? And at that time, we were also, Securitas had the contract with the U.S. Embassy after the Marine Corps went home. And I was guard force commander of the U.S. Embassy on behalf of Securitas Group. And for the embassy, so I was in between. And there, of course, we got a lot of training in anti-terrorism and several really good courses with diplomatic security. And that ignited my interest in close protection or bodyguarding. And so I went to England on my own and did a close protection course with the World Federation of Bodyguards. Came back, discussed this with my managing director, and said I was thinking about quitting because I would like to start my own company in high-risk security. And my managing director said, "No, make a business plan and propose it to us," right? And I did that, and we spoke some different plans, and they decided to, with the CEO, the owner, and the CEO of the company, the president, basically, they decided to form a new company. And so I was offered a fifth share, 20%, and the Securitas owner had 80%. So we formed Global Executive Outreach. We had that was my name. I came up with it. I was told my name, and I came up with GU because everybody has to have 3 letters. This is kind of like the thing in that business. So, but I wanted to sound like something that could both be security, but also with plausible deniability, could be like a consulting company or a legal company. So Global Executive Outreach doesn't say a lot, but I was inspired by the South African company, mercenary company called Executive Outcomes. So that's where the executive ends. So global reach, executive, and outreach. So to help people, because I still wanted to make a difference in the world and make it better. Mm-hmm. And so they actually called me. Robin Barrett, there was one of the the CEO of World Federation of Bodyguards, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to move to Asia with my wife. We want to sell this company. Would you be interested in taking over?" And so my company, Global Executive Outreach, bought the World Federation of Bodyguards in England. That took me to England, in Staines, just outside London, where we had it, and it made me work in England, Wales, Scotland, etc. on training and operations. And then from that, I went to surveillance detection. I was asked to come to Mexico in 2002, and I went there to teach at the police academies in 3 different states: Morelia and Michoacan, San Luis Potosí, the state of that, and also in Tlaxcala. So yeah. That's a funny thing, because like when you're teaching, and that was a fun thing, because we were teaching things in Europe, like for instance, if you get attacked, get out of the X spot where the attack zone happens, because the enemy is not going to follow you. He has the attack plan there. If you can crash, move through that, divert, take action, move out, you will be safe. And I was 2 days in Mexico. 2 days I've been there. And we just sat in our car, we drove out the street, and then we heard this ra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, and comes this convoy that we thought was one of our principals we were working for, one of their cars, being chased by this assassin crew that was just hanging out the windows of a pickup, blasting away with their AR-15s. And so we drove after them, and we saw these people, and they were there in their Bronco in the front. They were shot in pieces. There was in Morelia, and we chased them, and that was actually a car chase that spanned 2 kilometers across the city. And I ruined everything we were teaching that day. It kind of became this kind of like a Ronin movie, where it was like, this doesn't only happen in the movies or in Mexico, So that was really the thing. So I'd been there 2 days, and then I watched blood and brain matter and splatter all around, and death and destruction and it maybe for me it just made me more enthusiastic about being down there and changing things and working with the police and protection. And this principal, Jaime Ramirez, was one of the wealthiest men in Mexico at that time, that I thought was related to, and he was not related to. But he then asked us to conduct training. We first conducted a 3-day special assignment security course where we had different police and security experts from 5 different states coming. And we taught that in Morelia. And that later led to that I was tasked to teach the industrial police, which was tasked with close protection in Morelia. So I taught a 14-day course later on, the same year in 2002, early 2002 also for them. And one of these persons on the 3-day course was a consultant and instructor at the police academy in San Luis Potosí. And they contacted us and brought us to San Luis Potosí, where we then taught at the police academy, or state police academy there, where I had in that state, I had the privilege of teaching 5 different courses. Most bodyguard course for SWAT and riot teams, etc., and hostage rescue also with the ministerial police, and 1 day of demonstrating firearms techniques for the 12th Infantry Battalion, also the military in San Luis Potosí. It was very interesting times.